Right, all you listeners of the madness and anyone lucky enough to catch this show in their AM/FM dials. Welcome to yet another unpredictable, unplanned, unseasoned, and now, under the time zone regulation of an offshore island southwest of Puerto Rico edition of Under the Radar. I am your host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, and seeing the fact that we're bringing madness to you just 1 hour ahead of what you expected due to a little time warp that happened, I think it's time for us to waste no time and explain to you guys what's going to happen on this very special month of madness starting Time Warp of Madness edition of Under the Radar. Because we kick things off with a very special newspaper clipping edition of yesterday's news. Special because the scissors have an hourglass in them. Don't know how it works, but it works. Next up on the plate, we go ahead and check out some video games from the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for another edition of the Four Squared Delight. And speaking of the beyond, folks, we wiped the dust off once again off the fifth dimensional door to check out some games from a Rod Sterling universe like no other for another trip to the Indy Zone. And yes, if you're wondering out there, I'm staring off into the far distance and realize I didn't set my clock forward by an hour. Darn it! But besides that, folks, we find out which one of you crazy stunners out there is going to find out no matter time moves forward or backwards, you won't know the difference with a concussion as we leap into another edition of the wild world of stunts. And according to Carla the Maestro, a concussion does make a difference in time. Well, for you and your doctors. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before those infomercials flicker on and off your television sets, we wrap up this show yet another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and for any of you listening at home, ease back those recliners, cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. Let's get this time warp and madness started, folks. Right, all you time warpers and listeners of the madness alike out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. Now, before this show could even begin, we were faced with a critical decision. Now, Carla the Maestro told me that we could have waited until Saturday to give the madness to you prior to the time warp, and then you just go into the week just feeling sluggish, and we decided, yes, we decided, that we should actually give you a dose of madness after the time warp to give you that boost that you really will need to tackle the new work week under the new time zone regulations just south by southwest of Puerto Rico. And Carla the Maestro was the one who found the time zone for us this week, so thank them for the intro. Because we were originally going to go with Yugoslavia, but that time is off by at least 6 hours. Yeesh. But besides trying to figure out time zone regulations, folks, I think it's time for us to check out these cool scissors to cut out some cool newspaper clippings from this past weekend and beyond for a very special month of madness kickoff time warping edition of yesterday's news. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause it's time for us to get ready to fly low as we go under the radar. 'Cause and the hourglass and the scissors work too. Nice. And in our first yesterday's news story, and in some cool news from the People's Executioner himself, Karrion Kross, he decided that he's gonna head back to the world of FSW, where he originally cut his teeth when he first started wrestling, for a benefit show for none other than Karrion, or according to Carl and the Maestro, none other than Chris Bay, who, for those who don't know and need a little bit of catching up of what happened, Chris Bay, during a match in Impact, or TNA, unfortunately would break his neck and would lose all motor functions of his body, and as of recently would finally be able to get back up on his feet and slowly make the road to recovery one step at a time. And yes, we completely forgot to include that story for the Music Village Difference Maker Award, so he's included for next year's awards ahead of time. Same thing for Karrion Kross and all the people of FSW. Now, this benefit event for Chris Bay that Kross decided to go to, he's doing it completely for free and is willing to pay travel fees for any other wrestlers who's looking to go there to do their part on behalf of Chris Bay. And I, for one, think that's a very honorable and noble thing to do, and not to mention pretty cool too. And I can't wait to see the litany list of wrestlers who decides to go to this said event, which is known as the Mecca Benefit for Bay. And for those out there who wants ticket information or even a chance to actually watch it on the said websites that it will be featured on, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube or the Twitter page of one man only known as FSW Vegas to check it out for yourselves. And as a little bit of a heads up, this benefit show will take place as of Sunday, March 23rd of 2025 at 5 p.m. at the time in Vegas. I keep forgetting what time zone that is, and with time being a cruel mistress for us, just go ahead and head on over there to find out all details there. And as a matter of fact, Kross would say the following, that if they're not responding, I will attack the account moderator and probably throw him down a flight of stairs. Always stairs with this guy to throw somebody down. Why? But besides that horrifying threat, folks, and speaking of horrifying things, for you fans out there who always wanted to go and visit the most haunted bridge in America, known as the Colorado Street Bridge, well, Shotzi and Scarlett would be there to do the job for you. And none other than Kelsey Davies would be alongside with them, and yeah, a lot of very creepy things on this very creepy bridge. And Carl and the Maestro asking me, would I go there? No, why would I do such a thing to myself? I'm not doing that. But for those out there who wants to see this bridge from a faraway distance like we did, and want to go ahead and check out the paranormal things that will happen on this bridge, well, then you can head on over to the YouTube page of one man or two girls only known as Charlotte and Shotzi to check it out for yourselves. Yeah, I think I saw an image in the far corner. That's why I screwed up the names. Yikes. And in other yesterday's news, and more or less video game news of the nostalgic variety, for you fans out there who always wondered why in the world Thomas the Tank Engine showed up in every game known imaginable besides the train game, well, I got the feeling the people over at Train Sim World would ask the same question and would get a cool answer for it, because they would announce that they would team up with Mattel and Thomas and Friends to bring Thomas the Tank Engine to the world of Train Sim World 5. And I, for one, as a kid who instantly started jumping up and down, realizing that he would be in Train Sim World 5 alongside with the West Somerset Railway, is pretty cool. And according to Carl and the Maestro, you will need the West Somerset Railway to access the Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends pack that would be featured. Now, I wonder if Toby and the others are going to be featured for this set pack, or is it just Thomas himself? So many questions, so little answers. But for those who want the said answers, or at least check out the cool trailer featured for Thomas, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Train Sim World to check it out for yourselves. And as a little bit of a heads up, this update of Thomas and Friends will be making its way to a console near you as of the spring. So not much time left for that, huh? And to continue the nostalgia news for this week, for you Tony Hawk fans out there, I have some wonderful news for you. Because after the remake of Tony Hawk 1 and 2 did so well in the market, they've decided to go back for more and bring back Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4. Now, I for one was extremely worried about this game, seeing the fact that not only you might not see the Neversoft Eyeball, Darth Maul, and a couple of other cool hidden characters that was featured in it, or even the soundtrack. I was worried that the soundtrack wouldn't be available, but our worries would be extinguished immediately the second we saw the trailer that featured the Ace of Spades, the Ace of Spades. So yeah, the fact that they included the song The Ace of Spades amongst other songs such as, and not limited to, The Adolescence's Amoeba, even Gangstar's Mass Appeal, CKY with 96 Quite Bitter Beings, even Body Jar with Not the Same, and Outta Here by KRS-One. Yeah, it's gonna be an awesome game. Now, here's hoping in the near future they're able to include the song Check by Zebrahead, another one of my favorite ones from the soundtrack that not a lot of people give credit to of being a part of the game. Oh yeah, and not to mention Alien Ant Farm, who was a part of the soundtrack as well. But before we go any further down memory lane of all the songs we remembered from the game, and for any of you out there who wants to pre-order this game before its release, and if you do, you get a chance to play the demo for this set game, well, you can head on over to the website known as none other than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater to check it out for yourselves. And as a bit of a heads up, this game will be featured as of, and Carl and the Maestro lost the date. Well, that's perfect. But when this game releases, we'll let you know in the near future, folks. And according to Carl and the Maestro, oh wait, we found it, July 8th of 2025. Thanks, guys. Thanks. And I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for a very special Nostalgia Trip edition of yesterday's news. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more of that time warping madness known as Under the Radar right after this. So don't touch that dial away from the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. And we're back with the show of madness, bringing a time-warping nostalgia trip into your living rooms, dining rooms, or whatever room you could possibly find, only known as Under the Radar. And Carl and the Maestro, to add to the nostalgia trip, would say that all of the skaters that was featured during the Tony Hawk collection will be available, with a couple of new skaters added in there as well, too. You know, besides the Doomslayer and the Revenant that will be available when you pre-order the game. Something we forgot to mention, but at the same time getting caught in the fact that the Ace of Spades is featured in the game again. Yeah, we got a little bit caught up in the moment, in the magic of that game. So yeah, it's our fault. We'll take the heat for it. But besides taking the heat for misinformation, folks, I think it's time for us to not miss and check out a couple of these screenshots and whatnots from this time warping weekend and beyond for another edition of the Four Squared Delight. And the first screenshot that we have up comes from the developers Nearly A Studios via the way of the Twitter page of Next Indy with their said screenshot from the video game of No More Grudges. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows none other than our friend here taking out a couple of what appears to be vampire or undead-like creatures, all while having skulls pop up their heads as their heads get popped off. And this automatically reminds me of Hunter the Reckoning, with the exception that you have no real powers to take them out, even though Carl and the Maestro said you might be Van Helsing. Well, here's hoping in the near future for this said game, and Carl and the Maestro would cut me off by saying, why yes, you do get explosives and powers to take out hordes of these enemies, but here's also hoping for a chance that you get a chance to upgrade these said weapons. Because if it takes you half a clip just to take out one of these things, you might need to up your arsenal like Ratchet and Clank. Just saying. Just saying. And the next screenshot that we have up, speaking of people upping their arsenal, comes from none other than Jan Orsolik with their said screenshot from the video game of Predecessor. According to Carl and the Maestro, we'll go with the third one. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our alien mothership taking out a small apartment building and even a truck that was trying to go across it as well too, leaving it a pile of rubble and the truck to be smoking in the middle of the road. Yikes. Yikes. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of a combination of not only mercenaries, but a little hint of destroy all humans in there as well too. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this said show, or this said game, that I got a feeling a TV show was based off of, that not only you get a chance to upgrade the ship, but maybe, just maybe, a chance to use the resources from the buildings that you've torn down to upgrade the armor of the ship. Even though they have alien technology, I got a feeling whatever's lying in that rubble could probably help out that ship just a little bit more. And Carl and the Maestro with a confused look on their face saying they're aliens, they don't need that technology, but at the same time, they might. Who knows? I hope. But besides using human technology to upgrade alien technology, that still sends Carl and the Maestro through a loop. The next screenshot that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Micah Mobile with their said screenshot from the video game of Zombieville. And the screenshot that they provided for this week shows our pirate friend teaming up with clowns and other people, taking out zombies in the neighborhood, all while some rise up from the grounds to try to take them out in the most horrifying ways known possible, only for them to use flamethrowers and apparently ice weaponry to take them out at a moment's notice. All before the screen fades back, too. And this screenshot automatically reminds me of a combination of Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Seed Nation if it was in 3D. According to Carl and Maestro, the game's already in 3D, but the characters being more 3D than most. Just say that much. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to upgrade your weapons, but maybe, just maybe, a chance to customize your character as well too. Cause I got a feeling I could probably turn that guy with the top hat and the monocle into the Monopoly guy if I wanted to. And Carl and the Maestro said you can't find a mustache that's smooth, but I can. I've done it once, I'll do it again. But besides trying to find cool mustaches to suit somebody who's wearing a cool suit from the 1920s, the next game that we have up, or screenshot, comes from the Twitter page of Brimstone Devs with their said screenshot from the video game of Overthrown. And to show you how overthrown things can get, we would see our hero doing a big wind-up and a pitch to hit somebody upside the head with a nasty hammer shot, and even running across the water to pull it off as well too. And according to Call of the Maestro, even making a giant oversized boar see stars above their head, and also taking out enemies trying to take out their base at night, all before setting a whole bunch of dynamite loose to cause a whole bunch of enemies to explode, as well as the ground beneath them themselves, all before the camera can fade to black. Now, for some strange reason, this automatically reminds me of My Night and Me, and here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a giant oversized hammer like that is actually able to cause a shockwave attack to your enemies, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to also have, I would have to say one of those giant oversized Excalibur swords that take its enemies as well too. Because, you know, some of them might have thick skin and blunt damage might not be as good as you think. So a chance to actually cut them in half would be pretty cool to see for this. And Call of the Maestro said you might not be able to or might not need to with the dynamite they have around there. Well, dynamite may not be at your disposal at all times. So, you know, just use what that gave you and use the sword. Hopefully, if they have one. And the last but not least screenshot that we have up to kick off this month of madness comes from none other than DeadToast_com with their said screenshot from the video game of Shotgun Cop Man. And for those out there who's wondering, yes, this is from the Indy Screenshot of the Year winner developers who made My Friend Pedro Blood, Bullets, and Bananas. And to prove that their chaos can translate to other games too, this week we would see our Shotgun Cop Man friend here shooting the ground, causing a reverberating shot to take out a litany list of enemies down a hallway, all before using the said shotgun to rocket boost his way across the platform before the cameras can fade to black. Now, this automatically reminds me of something for the movie Shoot 'Em Up, because I got a feeling if he had a carrot at his disposal, he would probably put it in the weapon and cause the gun to spin in the room to take somebody out with. And it also reminds me of Ratchet and Clank too, with the weapon creativity. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game, and Call of the Maestro said yes, you do have an option of having a multitude of shotguns on hand, but also here's hoping a chance for you to be able to dual wield them. And as a matter of fact, he is dual wielding them. So yeah, mission accomplished. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool screenshots and whatnots from the Twitterverse from this past weekend and beyond for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter pages of not only Octo Curio, Oliver Snyders, Playing Indies, Indy Rhymes, Shot_Games, Indy Dev, Next Indy, or even under the hashtag of Screenshot Saturday. But if you guys and gals out there want to go ahead and check out the screenshots that we liked for this week and get a further interpretation of it for yourselves, then you can head on over to our Twitter page, only known as the 00Agent0012, and check out the screenshot folder we made entitled, and according to Call of the Maestro, Screenshot Madness. Appropriate. Very, very appropriate for the situation. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into that madness once again. And when we return, we take another trip directly to the Indie Zone as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't get lost in the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. All right, all you listeners of the madness and indie game lovers alike out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's screenshots of the week goes to, and according to Carl and the Maestro who decided to pick them themselves, would say they would go to none other than No More Grudges, and also go to none other than, and why in the world did you decide to pick them again? Because they said they wanted to do it for 1 week and decided to pick Joran Orsulik's Game of the Precursor. And the reason why in the world these two screenshots made it in for the screenshot of the week for this week? Well, for the first one, anytime you get a chance to hunt down crazy, oversized creatures in a Van Helsing-like universe, it's a thumbs up in their book. And the reason why in the world they picked the second one, well, anytime you get a chance to use a giant mothership to destroy giant, oversized buildings, it's a fun time in their book. All right? But speaking of fun times that are had that are just out of this world, folks, I think it's time for us to adjust our clocks and make our way directly through that fifth dimension door of games while adjusting our Rod Serling suit ties for another trip to the Indy Zone. And look, Carl and Maestro, right next to that clock we forgot to set right. There's so many games. Let's go. And the first game that we have up comes from the developers Hero Game Co. LLC with their set game of Pros and Codes. Nice name for the game. And this game currently available for the low price of $9.99. But for those out there who wants to try it before you buy it, there's a demo for it as well too. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Tech Home with their set game of Organs Peas. Wait, they're taking organs? Apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, yes, they are. Right. Yeah, this game currently available for the low price of $13.99. And for those out there who wants the deluxe edition, you can get it for as low as $16.89. Not bad. Not bad at all. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Burgos Games with their set game of Nico Ghost Jump. And this game currently available for the low price of $9.99. Next game after that comes from the developers Insanity Core Ltd with their set game of Headless Jeff 3. And this game will be coming soon to a Steam machine near you. But for those out there who wants to get their hands on it, make sure you add it to your wish list so you know when it comes out. And hopefully we can find it when it does, when it comes to that fifth dimension door. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Neutron Star Studios. Nice developer name, by the way, with their set game of Souling. And a cool name for the game, too. And this game currently available for the low price of $5.99. Next game we have up after that, folks, comes from none other than the developers Erendius Industries with their set game of Nebulous Fleet Command. And this game currently available for the low price of $14.99. And for those out there who wants the Sci-Fi Strategy Bundle Pack, you can get it for as low as $99.51. Next game after that comes from the developers Riddle Bit Software. Nice developer name, by the way, with their set game of Setback. And this game will be coming soon to a Steam machine near you, so make sure you add it to your wish list to let yourself know when it's coming out. Next game after that comes from the developers Outfox Games with their set game of Ritual Night. And this game currently available for the low price of $4.99. But for those who wants the Chaotic Cosmos Co-ops bundle, you can get it for as low as $8.78. Good deal. Next game we have up after that comes from the developers Calamity Bay Games. Nice developer name, by the way, with their set game of Veil of Dust, a homesteading game. And this game currently available for the low price of $14.99, but currently has a demo that you can try before you buy it. Next game after that comes from the developers Half Eaten Entertainment. Nice developer name, by the way, with their set game of Spam Tags. And this game currently available for the low price of $2.99. And the next game that we have up after that comes from the developers In-House Studios with their set game of Glitched. And this game currently not available on the Steam machine just yet, but currently has a demo that you can try before it comes out. Not bad. Not bad at all. And the next game that we have up, as Carl and the Maestro tries to pull some more from the Indieverse, comes from the developers, Nearly A Studios with their set game of No More Grudges. And this game will be available as of the third quarter of 2025. But for those out there who can't wait to get their hands on this game, well, there's currently a demo for it right now as we speak. Not bad. Not bad at all. And the next game that we have up comes from the developers Cicada Games with their set game of Isles of Sea and Sky. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. But for those out there who wants to get the game and soundtrack bundle, you can get it for as low as $19.98. A fine year, 1998. But besides that fine year, folks, next game we have up comes from Vivid Foundry Corp with their set game of Solid State Emotional Cyberpunk Stories. And this game currently available for the low price of $19.99. Next game after that comes from the developers, and get this, folks, Pixel Chest. Nice name, by the way, with their set game of Sons of Valhalla. And this game currently available for the low price of $9.99. But for those out there who wants the Hooded Horse Conquest bundle, you can get it for as low as none other than $62.96. And according to Carl and the Maestro, if you want the Hooded Horse Publisher Bundle, you can get that for as low as $296.59. Oh, big spender. All right. And the last but certainly not least game that we have up from the said Fifth Dimension of games comes from the developers Triple Bricks Games with their set game of Legendary Hoplite. And this game currently available for the low price of $3.74. But for those out there who wants to get the said bundle for the game, you can get it for as low as $5.16. Not bad. Not bad at all. And if you guys and girls out there want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still floating through the Indieverse from the Fifth Dimension door games that we opened, then you can go ahead and head on over to the said page of one man only known as Beyond Indy Showcase of the DreamHack variety on the Steam.store power page only known as store.steampower.com. And the page called, as Carl and the Maestro said, DreamHack Beyond Indie Showcase, to check out a whole bunch of cool games that are just out of this world. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with a very special, back-breaking, spine-tingling, time-warping edition of the Wild World of Stunts as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So don't touch that dial away from the madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you risk takers and backbringers out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And now it's time for us to find out which one of you crazy stunners is gonna spring or time warp your way directly into a hospital bed as we leap into another edition of the Wild World of Stunts. And the first stunt that we have up comes from the Twitter page of Donut Studios with their said stunt from the video game Abyss Unchained. Now, according to Call of the Maestro, instead of Donut Studios, it should be called Do Not Do This at Home Studios. Because this week we would see the little girl that apparently Call of the Maestro is gonna call Alice, who decided to have a ball and chain attached to her leg just like she did prior to the Indy Awards, trying to pull off some cool gymnastics. And would do so by not only doing a front somersault back leap onto the bar, and would even use the chain to wall jump her way over to the side of the wall, all before leaping back onto the side of said wall and cling to it like Spider-Man, like what, Call of the Maestro? Like a glove? Now, Carl and the Maestro in the PR department, who actually judged a gymnast program once, decided to give this score a perfect 10 across the board. And the reason being, folks, well, you try to do any form of somersault or leap or jump onto a wall using a, how much did that ball weigh? 50 pounds or 60? They said 120-pound ball around her leg, trying to make their way from place to place like it's nothing. Might be training for something more than the Olympics, if you know what I mean. Probably a world martial arts tournament that she's training for. I got a feeling that's the case. That or she might be a vampire. But besides trying to figure out her origin story, folks, we go into our next stunt, which comes from the Twitter page of Osama Azizori9 with their said screenshot from the video game of Atomic Fusion. And apparently the Wild World of Stunts this week has turned into the Stunt Olympics. And how so? Because this week we would see our stuntress here with no name attached to her game would decide to go up on the high bar, pull off a triple rotation, backwards rotation flip onto another bar, only to leap her way over to the other bar on the far end, and even be able to turn around mid-rotation to head back to the other 3 bars, flipping her way back over to that last bar, and then eventually doing a stalling moonsault or backflip directly onto the said platform across from her, like what, Call of the Maestro? Like a glove? And would be able to celebrate herself before the camera faded to black. Now, Carl and the Maestro, who's really wondering if there's such thing as a Stunt Olympics around here, well, technically it was several years ago, but I think certain people are slowly but surely starting to bring it back. They're giving this stunt a 10 too, alright? But who's gonna be on the podium after all of this? And they're shrugging their shoulders because they have no clue. But besides trying to figure out who's going to be on the podium for the Stunt Olympics coming this summer, we go into our next stunt, which comes from the Twitter page of #DevUnity with their said screenshot for the video game, A Work in Progress. And during this said work in progress, we would see our driver here known as Rallyman, rallying his way and pulling off barrel rolls from the land, the air, and even to the sea. Not only barrel rolling his way onto a highway road, but onto a giant oversized tanker on the said hills that I got a feeling was featured during the Sounds of Music, pulling off barrel rolls over there, and even barrel rolling his way on the top of a gazebo, and then immediately afterwards being able to stick the landing on top of the gazebo, and then drive right directly onto a road like nothing with all four wheels on that fresh asphalt like what, Carl and the Maestro? Like a glove? And the PR department, as well as Carl and the Maestro, saying, where in the world is he in the world where he's racing in all these different environments? I would have to say somewhere in Nova Scotia. I don't know. And Carl and the Maestro's asking me, how do you know it's Nova Scotia? I don't. I'm just going with the best guess I got, okay? Leave me alone. And the next stunt that we have up, besides stunning in a place we've never been to in all our lives, comes from the Twitter page of Next Indy with their said game of Tanuki Pond Summer. And from Next Indy, we would see our next raccoon-like friend here pulling off a crazy stunt of a backflip and even a backflip tail whip, or a back whip as we used to call it back in Dave Vera Pro BMX 2, and being able to land on the rail while pulling a 50-50 grind like what, Carl and the Maestro? Like a glove? But wait, there's more! He would also be able to pull off a super flip while running into a samurai, all before the cameras can fade to black. Not bad. Not bad at all. And the PR department and Carl and the Maestro is wondering how in the world he was able to keep all those packages inside of the said cart while shredding it up, as he would say. Well, I don't know. I guess they're either glued or Velcroed on, because at one point I'm pretty sure he almost lost one of those boxes that was supposed to go to Mrs. Robinson down the street. And according to Carl and the Maestro, Robinson got their package just fine, but they were wondering why in the world there was a fly in it. Well, he must have hit a fly during the stunt. Don't ask us. We don't know anything about it. And the last but not least stunt that we have up to kick off this wonderful month of madness comes from the femme fatales of the sky themselves, Vine went on fire with their said stunt of the Duster 300H, a good plane? Or Carl and Maestro said that title got cut off is the Duster 300H a good plane? Well, to answer that question, Vine Went On Fire would take to the friendly skies and make her way right for the Maze Bank Tower, and would decide to pull off a barrel roll before landing this baby right on the top of the helicopter pad like what, Carl and the Maestro? Like a glove? But if you think your aviation days were over there, nope. She would fly low and under the radar and right in the center of a bridge by flying upside down and threading the needle, even pulling off a triple barrel roll in the docks before flying upside down underneath the dock workers' cranes, and would be able to fly her way back up and thread the needle and jackknife her way right across from a plane, nearly hitting it. Then would make her way underneath the bridge in the industrial district of Los Santos, fly underneath that like there was no problem, and would even be able to said jackknife her way directly to yet another bridge in the industrial park, making this plane seem like a sure buy for anybody at home. But if you need any more advice to buy it, she would be able to thread the needle underneath the Los Santos River Bridge and would be able to even jackknife her way underneath it as well, making everybody at home very dizzy, but at the same time pulling it off like what, Carl and the Maestro? Like a glove? Now, Carl Call Into My Show's asking, before they get the scorecards out, did she get this plane for free? No, she didn't. She had to pay a grand total of well over $759,365.22 to test out this amazing plane that accidentally hit somebody on the beach. So, Doc, is the guy okay? Apparently, according to Call In My Show, it was a girl, and no, she's not okay because according to Call In My Show, after that plane wing hit her in the face, let's just say it snapped some of the bones in her face and also broke the plane itself by the end of this whole thing. So, yeah, they said just check on her in the next couple of days because she has a skull fracture that you wouldn't believe. Ugh. I bet I can, and I bet Ripley's can too. But besides calling Ripley's, believe it or not, for an unbelievable stunt, if you guys and gals out there want to go ahead and check out any other crazy stunts of people getting themselves maimed for unnecessary fame, then you can go ahead and head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, and click that video button to check out a whole bunch of crazy stunners who's gonna spring their way directly into a hospital bed 1 hour in advance of what they thought. Because, because of the time warp. Just saying. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week as Under the Radar rolls on right after this. So stay tuned. Right, all you graveyard shift racers out there still getting adjusted to the time warp, welcome back to Under the Radar. And this week's Stunts of the Week goes to none other than the femme fatales of the sky themselves. Mine went on fire with their said stunt of Is the Duster 300H a good plane? And also goes to none other than Donut Studios with their said screenshot from the video game of Abyss Unchained. Now, the reason why in the world these two stunts made it in for the stunt of the week for this week, because apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, the doctor's neighbor, known as Susie, would get hit by that plane during the stunt. Only reason he recognized her was from the x-rays and wanted to make sure she got a shout out to pay for the medical bills. That and because of the cool flying skills of one Vinewood on Fire, who texted by saying to the doctors, "Sorry about your neighbor, didn't see her, we'll handle it." Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And the reason for the other stunt? Anybody who can do that many flips and stick to the wall while holding on to a giant ball at the end of a chain definitely deserve to be mentioned during that part of the show. And with those stunts out of the way, and speaking of the madness that was brought by them, I think it's time for us to get ready to rev our engines for this month of madness kickoff edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. And the first track that we have up comes from none other than the creator of the year himself, or track of the year maker himself, Bax4223, with their said track of the Canyon Arena. And the track that we have for this week, and the reason why in the world we decided to pick it, not only because of the cross-town, cross-road traffic of a track that he was able to make in the middle of a canyon, which, yes, it sounds insane, but it does exist out there, but also because of the litany list of vehicles you get a chance to use, with the exception of the weaponized vehicles you know and love so much that you can use for this track. Now, the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there for this crazier than all hell track is two things. One, watch out for oncoming traffic in that X in the center, because if you don't, let's just say there's a high possibility of you eating a speedboat that will take you out during this said race. And also, Carla the Maestro said there's a 94% chance of you getting blasted with a rocket that was featured during this said race. Yikes. Yikes. So make sure you watch out for crosstown traffic, be aware of rockets, and make sure you pick a car that can handle the bit of a slope for that said turn that you're going to have to make during this said track. As a heads up, and good luck. And the next track that we have up comes from the creator known as Ron Shelley. Nice name, by the way, with their said track of RR Long Beach Speedway. And the reason why in the world we decided to pick this track, folks, not only because it's a short and sweet track, but it's a sweet track that allows you to pick just about every car across the board to race on it. That a track that can be completed in less than 20 seconds, according to Carl and the Maestro. Nice. Now, the only tip of advice I have for you race fans out there is to watch out for the hairpin turn on checkpoint 1 and 2 featured for this said race. Because let's just say if you don't, there's a nice little pillar that will meet you and hit you and take you out of the race, preventing you from getting that pole position that you can get in less than 20 seconds. And Carla the Maestro's hoping to break that record by next week. Well, good luck to you. And make sure you pick a car with good handling, too, for it. And the next track that we have up comes from none other than Fran the Man 87 with their set track of Hot Wheels Barbie Style. And this tubular race that gives you a chance to race in just about every car across the board, with the exception of those weaponized vehicles you know and love so much, is really a tubular race. Well, almost a full tubular race. So the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there for this said tubular race is to make sure you know by the end of the tube which way's up. Because if you don't, let's just say you're going to have a very painful experience if you're flying upside down on the tubes and the tubes end and your car explodes, which will happen. And for you motorcycles out there, if you happen to do that upside down and drive out, let's just say you're going to have a pretty bad headache, helmet or not. So know which way's up, and hopefully you can get the checkered flag during this said race. And the next track that we have up comes from none other than Mythic Angel 369. Nice name, by the way, with their said track of Ricky Bobby NASCAR. And the reason why in the world we love this track, not only because of the description of remember if you ain't first, you're last, but also because of the fact of the NASCAR-like tracks and cars you get a chance to race with during this said track. And the only tip of advice we have for you race fans out there for this said track that will most likely send you through a loop, and Carl and Maestro said there's no loops during this track, but there's a lot of speed pads there. So yeah, it will send you through a loop or more or less a spin if you happen to get fishtailed during this said race. And for those out there who do, yeah, watch out and try to regain control of your car as quickly as possible, because if you don't, let's just say there's certain parts of this track that doesn't have barricades, and with this track being elevated, there's a high possibility of you seeing the bottom of this said track at a moment's notice. So yeah, make sure you maintain control of your car and watch where you overtake your opponent, because it could get ugly out there. Really, really ugly. And the last but not least track that we have up for this week comes from none other than XX DI3KR or DI3KR XX with their said track of Into Space. And And yes, Carlin, in my show, we did have to say it like that. And secondly, the reason why in the world we like this track outside of the cool name is the fact that they allow you to use every car across the board. But as the description would describe, make sure you use your fastest car to make your way up that said ramp. Because if you don't, let's just say it's gonna be a long afternoon despite them having speed boost pads on this said race. And on the way down, make sure you be careful trying to overtake your opponent or try to take him out with a fishtail, because it could lead to a very, and I do mean very big mess that'll take place during this set track. So yeah, and watch out for falling cars just in case it happens, because 9 out of 10 times it will. It will. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool tracks that we were able to include in playlist form, along with the tracks we mentioned for this week, then you can head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page of one man only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com and check out the said track playlist entitled Jump Madness 2 to check out all those crazy tracks for yourselves. And with that said, folks, wraps it up for a very special Month of Madness kickoff edition of the GTA Online Top 5 Tracks of the Week. I guess with that said, we might as well head back to that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Under the Radar for this week, right after this. So don't get lost in that madness just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, for all you listeners of the madness, seeing the fact that the infomercials are starting to flicker on and off your television sets and we've got to get out of here before that truly happens, we might as well bring control of the television sets back to you, the listeners of the madness at home, as we bring Under the Radar for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of the madness we were able to give you for this week, we got you covered. Because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag Under the Radar 481. And I find it funny that it's 1 hour ahead and 1 day ahead of the original thing we were supposed to do, and that's the only thing I could incorporate the one with. And Carl and the Maestro said it'll do. It'll do. I bet it will. And if you guys want to figure out all the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this month of madness, like us trying to figure out a way to make a one work with 1 hour ahead of time in your lives, then you can go ahead and head on over to our Twitter, Discord, and YouTube pages, still all named the same, only known as CWAGIP 0012. Before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the listeners of the madness out there for listening in to a very special time-warping Month of Madness starting edition of Under the Radar. If you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Bender when he was in the mental asylum. Yeah, you know, the PR department knows where I'm going with this one, and they're tuning up their banjos right now. Nice. And we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys, and here's hoping your music can help with the sounds of madness we're going to deliver over these next couple of weeks. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. That's why. And speaking of people whose music is able to help soothe the sounds of madness, we would like to thank our musical guest for this week, none other than Carl and the Maestro with their said songs of not only heavy radio interference of the static variety that was featured during the intro for this week's edition of the show, but of course the song you're listening to in the background right now that's taking us home, none other than the B-movie metal director's cut Madness that is currently being featured as we speak for this week's outro for this week's edition of Under the Radar. Like always, Carl and the Maestro, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but certainly not least, we would like to thank you, the independent stunners out there, or independent gamers out there, for delivering all those sweet, sweet video game hits, clips, tracks, and stunts we had a chance to mention during this week's show. And as always, guys, keep them coming, because this month of madness is going to be insane. Probably in more than one ways with your crazy stunts. So to help you out with that, yes, Carl and the Maestro, we're going to give it to him. This Mad Hatter hat signed personally by the Mad Hatter himself and all of the people who attended the tea party, which would be me, apparently Snow Bunny, Fluffy Bum Bum, and I don't know the name on the right, but let's just say it was somebody who was happy to be there, because they wrote happy to be there instead of their name. Unless their name is happy to be there, is it? They don't know. But either way you look at it, folks, keep them coming, and you never know what show might be lurking around the corner next. So, hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there know we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for this show of madness, invading a month of madness with a time warp twist to it, saying, gonna tell you a little journey about a battle called Waterloo. Bonjour, y'all. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And always remember, don't you ever forget, no matter what time of the day this show may air, during whatever sort of time zone we happen to invade to bring madness into your home, 1 hour more, less, equal, greater, or divided by a margin of 10 to help you get through a time warp that only Doc Brown or the Langoliers can somehow solve, and still manage to get you up like a daisy for that work week that you're most likely gonna attack with the madness we were able to give you to keep flying low and stay under the radar. Good night, everybody.